Okay, ready, Ash? We'll start officially at 6:31. Okay. First of all, approval of minutes from August 19th. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Joanne, you second?
Correct.
Do we have any discussion, changes?
No, I didn't see anything.
Okay, I didn't either.
It looked very good. Thank you.
Yeah, you do a good job, Ash.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Treasurer report. Joe, you got that, right?
Thank you very much. I appreciate you forwarding this to me. It's much appreciated. As of this moment in time, we have $22,948.34 available. But I'm sure some of this has been earmarked, but at least that's what was in the budget. That's what was available August 27th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've had any expenditures out of this budget in the meantime, although I have to double check that, but.
Yeah, that was the latest one. That was in the box as of Friday, in the mailbox.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay. On to update on businesses in town. Just this afternoon, I sent you one cert for adoption of trade name. Ashley, you have it too. So you have all the information. It's for B. Thomas Plumbing on Fabian. And apparently he's a plumber. That was the only one I got, and no closures that we recorded.
Oh, terrific. So no closures and no new openings.
Yeah, just this new opening as of August 17th.
But all the other businesses seem to be functioning okay. The other restaurants in town are doing good. T-Rex looks like it was packed. I think it was last weekend I drove by there, and I couldn't believe the cars there.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
Oh, wait a minute. Did I hear that there was some big motorcycle party and over the weekend?
Yeah, and it was in the parking lot adjacent to the T-Rex site.
No, it wasn't the same day then, because no, the people that I saw were just regular people mini golfing, but no motorcycles there.
Yeah, it was last Saturday night, Friday or Saturday. I want to say Saturday, because we drove over to Putnam because a friend of mine's band was playing at the Stomp, which we found out last minute. So we were there a little after 7, and we drove through there, and it was crazy. And apparently they didn't pull any permits with the fire marshal or anybody else, and there had been an accident, because there were people directing traffic. I couldn't tell in the dark if they were following, COVID mask protocols. I'd be shocked if they were.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that on one level you'd love to see events, right? But this one was very DIY, and they appear not to have gone through any channels to make sure that it was safe and acceptable. And I don't know, man.
It made the radio on Monday morning. I mean, they talked about on the radio, and somebody called it some kind of I don't know what kind of a motorcycle club party, but apparently there's lots of rubber in the road too, so.
I don't doubt it.
Well, anyway, there was a party there.
And I missed it.
Yeah.
They were like dirt bike stunt riders. Or not, motorbike, dirt bikes, stunt riders.
Yeah, no, that's different. Yeah, in T-Rex, speaking of T-Rex, they have the 24 flavors that used to be in the little shed at Riverside. So they have their ice cream. I think they have food there too.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
They do?
yeah, places I've been are doing well enough in town.
I stopped by for some soft ice cream with my wife, and I don't remember seeing food in there, but we were just thinking about ice cream at the time. So,
Yeah, and I could be wrong. I was thinking something, but I could be confusing them with something else. But anyway, yeah, it looks like I'm glad they reopened for as long as they can anyway before the weather sets in. Anything else for businesses? Okay. Let's see, citizens' comments pertaining to agenda items. Any comments?
John Rice, that's for you.
And it's okay if you just want to listen. Okay.
I think I was muted anyway, but I just want to listen.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's so
thanks.
disappointing, John.
Uh, how come? How come I'm not muted, Tara? 'Cause I don't.
Well,
I don't-
I didn't mute you, but I can mute you if you want me to.
Yeah, because my wife's watching TV on the other side.
All right, I will mute you.
Don't need you to.
Let me know. Let me know if you want to come out.
Okay, on to item 6 is old business. The only old business I have is an EDC alternate. I do have a little bit of an update. First of all, I haven't heard anything from John. And the one person that that had some interest is not going to do it, but she referred someone else, Renee Fitzgerald on Buckley Hill Road, and I did talk to her. She's going to check our website, look over some of the minutes, some of the agendas. We talked for about a half hour on, when the meetings are, where they are, the expectations. So she'll let me know next month if she's interested in being an alternate. Now, what is the procedure now, Tara? Do you know?
Well, Renee's better at that sort of thing than I am, but I believe
Okay.
that she just has to fill out. There's a form of interest,
Mhm.
which I think is available on the website, and then I believe procedurally the Board of Selectmen has to approve it, but there's no reason why they ever wouldn't. Essentially, you recommend to them that you want a new member, and they just approve it. I don't think there's any
No,
real
Okay.
process to it other than that.
no qualifications.
And that's what I was familiar with, but things change. Okay. I'll keep you updated on that. Maybe we'll have a new alternate for next month. Has anybody else had any interested parties? No?
Not recently.
Okay. Well, okay, on to new business. I added the Connecticut Community Connectivity Grant Program. And Tara is looking into that for grants.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing on that yet. I have the guidelines and the guidelines and all the materials sitting on my desk. The thing that will enable me to submit that grant is having the final product back from Kelsey and John Guskowski on the wayfinding project, which I know they are working on. And essentially, I'm just converting that into a grant application for actual fabrication based on whatever the recommendations and the final decisions from here and branding and the involved parties, because there's going to be some design choices offered in that. And she's still doing her final sort of narrative stuff there. But I just happened to glance at the application at some point today. The deadline on that is Friday, the 16th of October. So we're at what, the 16th of September. Having a month to work on something is like an eternity for me on those grant applications. I am not concerned about it until October 1 comes and goes, as long as I have the stuff back from Kelsey. That'll be a quick turn.
And that's for it doesn't include design work. You were hoping it would help with the actual signs.
Right. So the grant program itself, and I didn't make the connection immediately, but in 2016, I think, and Charlie, I think you were involved, so you can tell me if the timing is right. Charlie and Renee and a bunch of other people participated in a road safety assessment under this very same grant program. So it really is about pedestrian and cycling connectivity, and it has a list of allowable uses for those funds, and they do specifically name pedestrian and cycling connectivity signs and wayfinding. So it may push us in one direction in terms of which groups of signs get fabricated first, which may or may not have been our preference group in the end when we all discuss it, but you take the opportunities that present themselves to you. I think it's imminently grantable, and our background work will do nothing but enhance any application I send in. So it all times out very well.
Kira, I don't remember the year time just seems to evaporate lately, but I do have two next town over names that you may want to include in your application, and I'll get those back to you. One from Webster and one from Douglas. You've already met the contact from Douglas, but after our last train wreck Zoom meeting, I reached out specifically to neighboring towns where I am aware of people who are interested in these types of recreational opportunities and the safety of them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously anybody is welcome to join in our larger conversations. In terms of this specific grant, I'm likely looking at fabricating specific signs for our specific municipality. But if what you're talking about is getting in touch with them in terms of, support, indicating support as users coming from out of region, then
Yes.
that could be useful. Yeah.
Yes,
okay. I wasn't sure where you were headed with that, Charlie. Okay.
How we can show in your application form that we already have neighboring communities that are interested in connectivity with us.
Okay,
So.
I got you. I wasn't really sure what direction you were pointing in that, but that's clarifying. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I'll move this. We'll throw this under the progress report heading for next month. Okay, on to section 8 is progress reports. And first step is the marketing and branding plan.
Yeah, so earlier at the September branding meeting, the branding group, which incorporates at least a couple of people from this group, reviewed again the Sullivan and Lashane initial proposal with taglines and slogans and sample logos. The taglines and slogans, I think people were more or less happy with, but unsurprisingly, because we always knew Sullivan and Lashane was the weakest design choice, nobody was super jazzed by any of the sample logos they sent back. There was quite a bit of discussion at branding about what people did or didn't like, which I think I was finally able to send a good synopsis over to Sullivan and Lashane. So we haven't seen them come back with any further samples yet. I expect that I will be talking to Brian Flaherty on Friday of this week, actually related to the NIPS program, but he doesn't mind doing double duty when we talk about these other things. So I'll find out where he's at with that.
Just a general question on marketing and the branding plan. So I understand that there's maybe we talked about this and I'm just forgetting at this particular moment, just for the record, but so we're putting this marketing and branding plan together. Is there a list of how that's going to be distributed and to whom? I understand the word marketing, but I don't know if I'm asking the question correctly.
Yeah, I think I know what you're getting at, Brian. It's probably a better question to pose to Renee. But as I understand it, and I'll be frank, I didn't sort of bone up on the proposal before I came on tonight. As I understand it, they're going to do a couple of things for us. One is the development of the taglines, slogans, logos. That would include the style book and the calendar of marketing events. So in terms of who that is going to be distributed to, I think that is an open-ended question right now, and the real question in response to that question is, to whom is it relevant most?
Yeah.
And I think we haven't decided that exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be anything surprising either. I think it's going to be, the people who use the platforms, the social media platforms, the website platforms as main users. And then it's not like it's a secret, right? It's not that kind of branding where we have proprietary hidden information. All of our information is public. So as it becomes useful to people, that it would be something that would just be shared, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But in an initial rollout, it's going to be the heavy platform users, I'm sure.
And I'm sure I'm early in asking that question, considering you literally just signed them up. So anyway, it's just fruit for thought.
It wasn't a very long. It wasn't a very long-term contract. I mean, their contract only goes technically, I believe, through the end of this month.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's only if they manage to deliver everything by the end of the month. They're more or less flexible to make sure that we get what we want there.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like a quick note. Tara mentioned that we weren't really jazzed with the logo. There were elements of it, several of them that we liked. But during the discussion of the logo itself, I think it was Charlene that brought up the question of, are we absolutely wedded to the idea of green and growing? Most of us seem to think that we were, but somewhere in that discussion, I seem to recall the suggestion is that maybe when we went back to them about the logo design, we would ask them, if we hadn't given you so much advance guidance, would you have come up with something different? So Tira's report that we haven't heard back yet. I think we are making good progress with that, and how we use it, I don't know, Brian, but social media.
Yeah, I'm just saying that we should talk strategy, and it's just, we're kind of just at ground zero with this, so we'll continue to bring it up, talk about it.
Yeah, their final product to us, Brian, I believe will also incorporate strategies.
Yeah. Okay.
At least a skeleton of strategies, right? Something that we can then take and suit to our purposes.
Okay.
Okay, also, number 2 is repair of the foundation at 65 Main.
My God.
Yeah, in July, I think, we had voted to approve up to $10,000 to repair the foundation, shore up the building, and Tara was looking for quotes, and we went to a little.
Brian, can I make a correction? I
Yeah.
think it was in February.
I
we
lost,
agreed to $10,000.
say that again?
I think we agreed back in February to propose the $10,000 towards the foundation, not July.
We just voted on it in July.
Oh,
Yeah, it's two related but separate things, Joanne. The initial commitment was just for projects at 65 Main in general.
Yeah.
And then the specific use that was voted on in July was for the repair of the foundation once we rolled into the new fiscal year. I think that's what the difference is.
Yeah, and Joanne is right. We did appropriate money in general.
yes.
But the foundation specifically is, it's important to kind of differentiate because right now there's pushback where the project wasn't recognized by the selectman's office. And, some things could be put on hold, such as, planning a full renovation or planning final use for the building. Part of our argument is, it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least shore up the building, no matter what the town wants to do with it, no matter what the selectmen do with it. So Tara has been discussing that.
Charlie, you have your hand up, brother?
Yes. I didn't think of the term last night when we had citizens' comments after that discussion point, but I'm willing to go on record as saying that if somebody wants to micromanage, then they ought to be at the various meetings where these discussions take place, instead of simply coming in at the 11th hour and saying, I didn't know about this, I don't want to do this until I get more information. February, yeah, but we were also talking about this last year. A lot of spade work was done even before Joe Lindley died to try to figure out what could we do with the building legally that would profit the town. I became quite upset at the tone that came across from some of the members of the Board of Selectmen, and it annoyed me tremendously that I liked what Charlene said at the end of the meeting is if you all you're going to do is just drag things out and drag things out and drag things out, you're not going to be able to get anybody that will work on making it happen. So that's my 2 cents, and maybe another nickel on top of it. But really,
Yeah, I tried to echo what you said, Charlie, last night, and my audio didn't work. And that was the point about shoring up the building. Let's not let another one crumble to the ground, and let's not have another one like the abandoned mill site that
yes,
picks aside. And, if the selectman's office wants more information, we can certainly give them more information. But in the meantime, like other people were saying, I don't want the building to crumble.
correct. And nobody from the Board of Selectmen is in the background listening to this, as far as I can tell by the names of the participants. So, we're trying to
Amy
get
is
something
on.
done.
Amy just came in about, coincidentally, just about as we started to talk about this.
Well, that's good. Then she heard me say, if we're good, I don't mind somebody micromanaging, but they better be involved in the whole process instead of trying to second guess us after all these hours of work have been done.
Yeah, so, in response to concerns that were raised, they have the levers. I did make an inquiry today, sent an email inquiry today to Connecticut SHPO to confirm some of what I believe to be the case about what is required about ADA retrofits. I believe, and I will let them confirm for me, that the portion of the building that would be planned for actual public utility, in other words, the small business center, would have to be ADA compliant. That's actually a very easy retrofit, I suspect, since it's all ground floor. I think there's probably a cement step that needs to be smoothed into a ramp. I think that's, and maybe some access improved over lintels and stuff. But I'm going to let Connecticut SHPO confirm that for me. A sticking point seemed to be the possibility of using the top 2 floors as a rental unit. Although I did repeat a couple of times that was the original function of the building under its original deed. That was a rental property to the superintendent of schools, and the $20 a month that it returned was sent up to the school to, I think, specifically fund the class trip, although I think that's probably more open-ended in reality. It is always frustrating to see people come in and try to obstruct the work that you've been doing, but in as far as it will cause me to gather more bolstering information, that is exactly what I'll do. We still have the not-for-profit partners, ready to work on the planning of the programming. They are all committed. And, there's this commission, there's branding, there are the volunteers for the garden itself, to a lesser extent, MISRAC, people who are invested in the idea of having a revitalization project down there. So we'll push it forward in the Historical Society, of course. And we'll just keep pushing that forward because that's what you do when you're responsible.
And Tara, can I
yes,
say,
Joanne.
Certainly the one thing we do not want to happen, and it was kind of flippantly suggested last night, that we just tear it down. So I don't know. We'd have to have a sit-in, I think, before we tear down that house. Any home can be repaired. It is not in a shambles. It's not in such disrepair that it cannot be converted back into a habitable, livable space, because I've seen worse properties that have been rehabbed than that. So to suggest we tear it down was just not acceptable to me on a personal level. So.
Hey, I'm right there with you, Joanne, and I know the Historical Society would back you on that. I've talked a great deal about this project with Gio Martino. He's super enthusiastic about it from the Historical Society side, as the chair of the trust, going on and on and on. It's a good project with a good description. It's just a matter of breaking down the obstacles and the resistance, and we will find the levers to do that because, we've got people working hard at it.
I'm sorry to jump in here at the last second if I can. And I'm sorry I missed that meeting last night, but was all those things that you just outlined, Tira, I don't see how they have anything to do with doing repair of a foundation system. Was it more about just gather data and then you got to answer these questions before we go ahead and approve that? Or is it more about people want to just tear it down? And I'm sorry for this question. I'm just curious to know what happened.
No, it's okay. It's okay, Brian. The main objections were raised by Suzanne Witkowski. She 2 weeks ago, when the bid was supposed to be opened, from the kid who came up from Baltic a few times to look at it, stated that it was the first she'd heard of the project and asked for more information about it. And refused to open the bid 2 weeks ago. So in response, I sent the 5 attachments to all 3 of the selectmen. So that's the meeting minutes from the Turtle Lot Trust when the full quorum that was there, which is also a majority of the trust, voted to approve moving ahead with the project, which was the path that seemed most logical at the time. That was when Ken was first selectman and also on the trust. I sent a letter that I had from Ken Slater stating his opinion on the best course of action in terms of possible need for release from the conditions of the original deed and will. Suzanne and Amy interpreted that letter somewhat differently than I did, but I do have it. I sent, what did I send? I know I had sent 5 things. I sent the letter that Renee wrote a couple of months ago detailing all of the projects that we've been working on as correspondence to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed, and Board of Finance. That had been getting to the selectmen at that time. It did also talk about 65 Main. I sent the most recent grant proposal that I had written, which was one specific to the planning phases. So that's with the not-for-profit partners. That particular grant did not in and of itself address the construction issue. I'm still looking for a really good candidate for grant funding for that. And then the 5th was a letter from Joey Martino on behalf of the trust. So the decision to move ahead with the foundation was based on what we've been talking about how the building needs to be rehabbed. And we had put, we meaning EDC, put that money aside for the line item in general during budget season. And once the fiscal year rolled, since that was a piece that could be addressed in the short term and is in its way the most important piece in terms of enabling us to move forward with the building, that was the path that we chose.
Sure. And then just for a final comment here, obviously we received some bids. I believe that if we don't do something with those bids, they will expire. And then probably most importantly, we're entering into the winter season. And if we don't do it before the winter, I mean, you have one of 2 choices. Either you wait to do it until after winter because it's going to cost you more money to do it during winter, you know, so I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not going to be done during winter regardless, because you and I both know that that's the case,
sure.
that you don't want to be doing foundation work in the winter.
Sure. Okay.
You know, we had all wanted that to happen this fall. You know, maybe that is still possible if we can, you know, push through some of this resistance. If it is not, we'll look at it as soon as we can, which hopefully wouldn't be later than this coming spring.
Okay. Thank you.
Ryan, I would add to that some of the resistance seemed to be focused on liability questions. Tara mentioned the ADA compliance and whether or not the whole building needed to be ADA compliant. I tend to agree with Tara because if only, yes, it's a town property, and yes, we're inviting the public in, but we're really inviting the public into the ground floor. My understanding was that the apartment, once renovated, would be part of a package for someone who would teach community gardening and other community green-based interests within the town. Yes, I can understand where we need to be concerned about the liability. And there was some questions that were brought up last night that I couldn't answer, but it is owned by the town, it's managed by the trust, and has been mismanaged or under-maintained for a significant period of time, as a lot of things in this town have been. And if we're going to preserve some of the heritage and preserve some of the character and then turn it over to a new use, we do have to find, all of us on the EDC need to reach out to all the members of the Board of Selectmen and ask point blank, what do we need to, what questions do we need to answer for you to feel better about this? Because we obviously are invested in it. We want to see it happen. And I think for the right reasons.
Yeah, just to comment back, Charlie, I don't want to keep on dragging this through the mud here, but unless I'm missing something here, I don't know what ADA compliance or renovation of the existing building has anything to do with the present topic of repairing the foundation system. I mean, yes, there's a renovation project that's going to happen after this phase 1 of foundation. So I don't understand why that is like preventing it from moving forward.
You're preaching to the
That
choir
comment,
there.
that comment was made, Brian, that point was brought up, and it's a point that I was going to bring up. For some
Yeah,
reason, my
okay.
computer wouldn't accept my audio.
Yeah, okay. All right, very good. We're on the same
Ongoing
page.
discussion.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Yeah, we all agree, Brian, for sure. So concurrent with that, one of the other things that Suzanne had asked for was a fairly detailed full rehab estimate. I mean, I have a reasonably good breakdown that Jason LaValle did for me last year. We spent quite a bit of time walking through. My feeling is based on the nature of the resistance that I have received, that is probably not quite detailed enough. So if anybody has a line on a good GC who would be willing to spend a couple of hours with me, walking that property and give me a real construction estimate, I could use the reference.
Check with Dave Eddy. He came over and looked at a project for me, but he was above my price range and tied up with the Mason House. Obviously, he can do all this kind of work, and he certainly.
Well, I'll check with Dave, but I actually don't think he is a licensed GC. I think he's a finished carpenter.
Well,
but I'll check with him because he's certainly friendly to all of that stuff that we're doing.
And just for the record, I mean, I do construction for a living and I could do that, but the way I price things is like Boston stuff. So if you want me to do it, Tira, I will be happy to give you a line by line. It's just that that's not my business of non-union open shop type estimating, but I would be happy to do that.
Yeah, I may take you up on that, Brian. My instinct tells me to find a regular Connecticut licensed general contractor so that it will be region specific.
I agree. But if push comes
but
to shove,
if I come up blank,
yeah,
if I come up blank, I got you.
Okay.
Well, Tara, what about Jason LaValle? He's a general contractor.
He is, he did that for me once, and I will certainly go back to him. I've tried to reach him for some other stuff. I know he doesn't want to bid on it, which actually makes me want to use him as the estimator even more because that removes any possibility of conflict.
Correct.
I'll contact Jason again. He's been super helpful, very clear, very plain spoken, and I very much appreciated the help that he gave me last year. That would be a second imposition on his time. That would be my main reason not to use Jason there again. I asked Joey Martino to see if he could hook me up with any of the folks from the Historical Society who might have that background as well, since their motivation on the project would be high. But, it's only a matter of time. I mean, the world is full of general contractors.
Yeah. They're all over the place.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, that's how you get your license under the name of general contractor. Even though you might be, your forte may be masonry or carpentry or something, you still need a GC license.
Okay, can we all set? We can move to the next. The next line item is number 3, Airline Trail Z-Card brochure.
Oh, am I up again?
Well,
yeah, so that project has grown legs again. I am closing in on getting match funds committed from my threshold of 7 Eastern Region Tourism District towns of the $3,000 each to be matched by the ERTD. Quite frankly, the submission of that proposal is just a formality. As you know, I'm on the board for the ERTD, although I would have to recuse myself from that vote. They're waiting for it to come. I've got commitments from 4 municipalities in hand, so that's Thompson with the EDC funds, and that's coming out, just to clarify, from some of the funds that we were reimbursed for grants. That Orla does track that separately. It doesn't appear on your spreadsheet, Joanne. So that $3,000 from us, Pomfret, Wyndham, and Hampton. Hampton is actually taking a slightly different tack. I think they've got some money coming from the town, some money coming from private donors, and some money coming from Friends of the Goodwin Forest. So that actually looks really good for the proposal. Once I have $21,000 confirmed, so that the ERTD can match it for 25, I'll submit that proposal for approval to the district. It is almost, not almost certainly, it is certainly going to be approved, and then we'll move forward with that whole project with Connecticut RC&D, who is the manager of the Airline Trail Master Plan, acting as the in-kind organizer. In other words, pulling together the designers, coordinating with the individual municipalities, and we'll end up with that nice zippy little tourism artifact.
Okay. Next we still have Community Day on the progress reports. That's still just a downplayed event, Upcycle Art Show, Maker Fair. There's really nothing
we closed,
else.
Well, it's going forward. I can tell you that we closed the registration last Friday, and we do have our full complement of 50, which was the goal that we had. Leslie and I measured it out yesterday, and it's going to look nice there where we put it. The only thing we don't get that we wanted is to move the shed over and, you know, have the facade on one of the blah, 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 because just Dave's not going to be able to do it. His work on the Mason house is going to prevent that. He said he could do it later this fall, but at that point, we may as well wait for spring when he can do a second full shed for us with those funds.
Yeah. Okay, that's what, October 3rd, right?
Yes, sir. You should all mark your calendars and come down, buy crafts.
Okay, train wreck site. Has there been any action on that since last month?
Charlie, you want to take that? I'm tired of yapping.
Okay, take a break. There has been some action, a couple of things. I don't recall if I had already picked up that batch of maps from the printer in Dudley, I guess it is, West Dudley.
Yeah. I think you did it after I saw your note where you did pick some up.
Yes, I did, and I realized that as I picked them up that they cost us a little over $1 a piece. So we talked about it at branding and how we might be able to redesign this a bit. I met with our intern, our marketing and social media intern today, and we reviewed what we had done way back in 2017. Most of you will remember it was a form on legal size paper that allowed for us to be able to go out and find sponsorship, and that never happened. When Tara told us about the anticipated delay on the Z-fold, we decided first that the Trails Committee was authorizing up to $200 to have some printed. And I understood, and the records show that EDC said that they would have up to $200. Somehow when the order was placed, we only ordered $200 worth. And again, that was $1 a piece. There are some things which Michael and I agree could be done to redesign this and get it back to 8.5 by 11, which might make it cheaper. And someone pointed out, more than one person has, we could go online and find somebody that would print it up and it would be even cheaper still. But I'm looking at part of this, at least in one way, Tara, as a rough draft or a learning curve for how we can enter our data into that Z card with 12 other towns or 11 other towns and get it as concise and quick and friendly to the eye as possible. So I mentioned a few minutes ago that I've reached out to not only people in Webster and Douglas, but to people, the East Coast Greenway Coalition. That is, they have agreed that they are going to designate Thompson as a connector route. Official designation will take place next year at or around Trails Day. Probably not on Trails Day, but maybe in June. And several years ago, when I lived in Rhode Island, we had a golden spike ceremony where the governor of Rhode Island and at that time, this is how long ago, John Rowland met in Green, Rhode Island and did a commemorative event for, I think it was a 1,000th mile of the East Coast Greenway being designated. And they are getting very excited about having some sort of a golden spike event at the Thompson and Douglas line. So I've suggested that we begin to reach out now to get some bigwigs up here to do the thing and have press that relates to it. And another thing that's related to the train wreck park area is that I have been working with Elliot Webb, who is the drone photographer. He did some overhead shots and they just, I don't know, the trees, we have some of that we're going to use, but then what he ultimately did was put one of those GoPro helmets with the camera on and rode his bike from Sandam Road up to the state line and back and sped it up. And then he also went in, got stock footage from where, I don't know, but he has kind of a reenactment of the train heading north on the morning of the wreck and all that went on at the site and the data that's connected to it. And he is now in the process of putting, instead of having the script pop up on the screen where it went by real fast, having somebody do a voiceover so that it will give them more time for the images to for people to see what they're looking at and then see hear what it is. A lot of the footage that he has are actual photographs from the newspapers from the day of the wreck, and the data that he has is from there. So he's working on that and making some pretty interesting looking video. Back to the East Coast Greenway, they've tied into that license plate, the environmental license plate fee, and they are working on having a video of more of the East Coast Greenway. So I've touched base with them and said, hey, we've already got somebody working on this. Maybe we should pool our resources. And I'm getting a lot of genuine excitement from the national and regional staff at the East Coast Greenway Alliance. And so that can't hurt. They're the ones that when their name goes in on the grant application as well, it makes the decision makers have an easier time. They've learned how to say yes to the East Coast Greenway.
So that's all great stuff, Charlie. I'm gonna dial it a little closer to home on this one, just as an update on where the actual working group is with this. I have one of my biweekly calls with National Park Service tomorrow, 11-ish, and our topic of discussion is actually on another one of the public workshop engagements for the ultimate design, the community-based design of the train wreck park. I have not yet heard back from the UConn School of Design in terms of what the students have chosen. In fact, it actually totally slipped my mind until tonight. So I will follow up with them in the morning so that I can hopefully get an answer as to whether we're going to have a student team to help us do that design, because that's a sort of a part of what we're planning on for the public workshop process. Also related to the airline trail, my ERTD contact from Hampton, who is also one of the Friends of the Goodwin, is also an editor at their local community newspaper and is wanting some information about the work that we're doing on the airline trail, thus the Trainwreck Park site, to put in their local paper as they talk about town. So we have some opportunities for publicity there. And after that call tomorrow, I'm going to get in touch with my contact Laura over in Hampton. The other piece that I'm sure you're all dying to know is where's our song and video? The song is done and fully mastered, and Jeff Bolte said he should get the video to me by the end of the week. I've asked him to make that the end of the week because the marketing partner for Eastern Regional Tourism District also wants that footage to include in some of the statewide and regional marketing programs. So that thing is already getting some legs. So the good news is all these projects tie together in exactly the way we've been talking about. The bad news is I've got a lot to keep track of.
Yes, you do. Okay. Next is the 6-month project to update POCD.
Just briefly, we've been making good progress. Charlie and Joanne are both on the working group that's taking on this project with me. We're working on a very aggressive schedule to try to pull this in. Essentially, the draft's got to be finalized by the end of November, refined in the first couple of weeks of December, and then presented to Planning and Zoning for approval and adoption at their regular meeting in December. So we have a hard finish on this. The way we are progressing is I've broken it out into chapters, essentially, and each chapter is a topic. Tomorrow night, the folks on the group who are taking on the housing section will be meeting via Zoom at 7. And next week, I have 1 week from tonight, the 23rd, the group that has opted to work on the economic development session is going to meet. So I would certainly invite everybody from this commission to be a part of that. The way we are working on it is I am drafting preliminary sections for each chapter, which are then open for comment, additions, deletions, yada, yada, by the working group, which we hash out in person during that one topic night. And then I take it all back. I polish it up so that by that last week of November, we'll have one complete draft that deals with all the topics, and then we will tighten it up from there. It's fast, it's kind of dirty, but it is the best we can do since we lost a month to the end of the regs rewrite. And actually, so far, I'm pretty pleased with how well the group has been working together. There's probably 12 or 13 people overall, and we're working on each topic in groups of, 5 to 8, depending on the popularity of the topic. So it's good. So if you guys want, I will forward the section for economic development once I've drafted it to all of you and with the Zoom link, and I hope you all dial in.
Okay. Okay, and number 7 is CME wayfinding plan and signage. Did we get a final report on that?
No, but we talked about that earlier under the connectivity program grant, so I would say you could skip that item.
Okay. And next is Nips for Holiday Cheer. We're closing that one out, and the cards will be given out during Community Day, right?
Correct. Well, the most of them will. That's when they'll first be available. We're not doing a ceremony or anything because we don't want to have that kind of gathering, but people can come collect them. That's one way to drive people to go to the Maker Faire. There are a couple of things that we have to resolve tonight. One is the difficult issue of our super collector. Brian, I think you and I talked about this before. Joanne certainly knows. We've got one guy who collected 12,000. And oh yeah, And he was very, very insistent, that that be used to offset his property taxes, which nobody ever promised him, but clearly he came to believe that that's what we were going to do. I've talked to Rainey. Rainey has no objection. I talked to Orla. There is a mechanical way to do it, but she said that we have to create the paper trail in the minutes by, since EDC was the sponsor, voting to approve that the value of the NIPS collection for Kevin Santerre be used to offset his municipal property taxes. So you guys need a motion and a vote on that. So do that first, and then we'll.
Can we get a letter from Rainey on that? I feel like we should have some sort of backup approving that before we motion on it.
Yeah.
I can certainly ask him to. Orla did say that she needs to have this wrapped up within the next couple of weeks because of some budget process of hers. I can certainly ask Rainey to forward something to everybody. That's not a big deal.
Well, could we vote on it pending Rainey's formality?
I think that's
Should be able
reasonable.
to do that.
Yeah, because if Rainey says no, then this is a moot point. But if we could all vote on it, and once we get covered, Rainey says fine, then it'll already be approved.
You want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this as long as we have all of the guarantees that we will need to satisfy legal requirements.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion on this?
Is that clear enough? I just want to make sure it's clear enough, Tira, that should we say the person's name or, you know, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you would probably want to be as explicitly clear as possible. So,
No one else has asked for that, so we should specifically mention Kevin.
yeah, especially since we are really specifically only doing it for him. So the gentleman's name is Kevin Santerre. I know it's over 12,000 NIPS, so it's $1,200 roughly in value. But since I don't have the exact figure, just use the value of his total collections. That'll be fine.
I would make a point on this. So if we do it this year, we are sort of establishing a precedent that somebody could come back to next year. So yes, we can.
Well, we're not doing this collection again next year.
Okay.
This was a one-time shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until we do some other collection and somebody else says, "Oh, remember those meeting minutes?"
You know what? Now we know enough to include that in the description. No, you can't use it to pay your tax.
It was explicitly said we weren't going to give cash. It was explicitly said on several occasions we were going to give gift cards. I don't know if you guys know this person, and he's a nice enough guy and super enthusiastic, but he clearly, when he was not explicitly told no, like as soon as he got we'll talk about it and see if it's feasible, the only thing he heard was yes.
Yeah.
And
people
he's
hear what they want to
problem. Yeah, and he's a little bit problematic. So, I mean, the volunteers who ran the program talked about it ad nauseum. I did go up and talk about it directly with Rainey last week or the week, but the week after we closed the program. You know, they both agreed that this is the least problematic way to handle it, although I would not say it's 100% free of things that make me go, "Ugh."
Yeah, sure.
But this was the best we could do.
All right. Sounds like you have what you need. And Ashley was just messaging to get the person's spelling of his name. So I'm assuming you can do that later, Tira.
Yeah, I'll Ashley, just email that and I will confirm the spelling in the morning.
Do we have
How does the money get back to the town?
Orla's going to do a transfer of some kind, but she said in order to do that, she needed the paper trail in these minutes. And she repeated that to me today when I talked to her about it. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
All right, Brian, I think we have a motion and a second. Do we need to do all in favor of that?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we just allowed discussion first.
Yeah.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're going to go forward with getting.
Tara, do we have a
Set up
total of the NIPS collected? Not for
The
him.
total?
Yeah, total.
The total was, and of course I don't have my actual spreadsheet, but it was 48,000 plus.
Oh, okay. Because Larry Groh was on the radio the other day, and he said that Thompson collected 80,000, and I
don't know where he got that.
I don't know
There-
either.
Okay. I mean, it's, whatever. He wasn't one of the volunteers on it, so, game of telephone, no big deal. But no, it was 48,000 and change.
He's an accountant too, right?
Yeah.
My tax.
So the follow-up to that is State Senator Flexer and Brian Flaherty from Sullivan Lashane and Larry Cafaro from Three Tiers for Connecticut and I are now going to sort of plan the end game. Actually, Larry and Brian have been very easy to try to schedule with. I'm having trouble scheduling this with May, although she's the legislative piece of it. Just for reference, Larry and Brian represent that Three Tiers from Connecticut that donated the $2,000 towards the subsidy. They are an actual beverage industry nonprofit. It's an interesting situation because their perspective on how they want to address the issue legislatively is very different from May's and mine. But we're all going to sit down, talk it out, come up with the publicity stunt, and hopefully help May put some actual legislative language together. Brian and Larry, for the record, are both former Republican members of the Connecticut State Legislature as well. So they all know each other, and I'm the one on the outs there in terms of legislative process, right? So these guys are insiders, which is, again, it's a little thing that grew some pretty long legs, which is kind of cool.
Okay. Next up, 6 months of suffrage. The last event was Roseland, right?
What'd you say, Brian?
6 months of suffrage. I think the last event was at Roseland Cottage, wasn't it?
The August event was there. Yeah, there's one coming up this Sunday.
Okay.
That's the Proper Ladies at Riverside Park, 4:00 in the afternoon, performing songs of suffrage in their Victorian garb. Sadly, I will miss it because I will be recording my own album that day, but please all go support them, free of charge.
Good luck to you, Tara. Singing away.
If I don't keel over from exhaustion after 2 days in the recording studio, that's all the luck I need, really.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. Okay.
More importantly, go see the Proper Ladies.
Yeah. 4:00. The last item is zoning regs revision.
John Rice, do you want to talk about this since you came in, brother, and you're sitting there listening, liven up your Wednesday night? Or Brian? What am I saying? Brian's right there. Brian, you take this. Brian Santos.
Okay. Yeah, so after all the hard work, it was put through and adopted. I believe the official date was yesterday, and it is on the
Yes, sir.
Website. I noted last time to this group that I think we should review it together and maybe do some cliff notes of it and try to strategize how we get it in people's hands to promote business and further development in town. So I think we could start to broach that next meeting. I'll try to come up with some sort of shortened agenda to kind of review the map with you guys, the color coding, and just kind of go through it. So we can review that next meeting. I'll keep it short.
Okay. Okay. That's it for the progress reports. And final item is comments by commission members. Anyone, or are we good?
All good.
I'm good.
Okay. That's good. It's fine with me. Next meeting, October 21st, 6:30 PM. Still location TBD. We'll see how it goes. And
Move to adjourn.
good to officially adjourn at 7:36.
Good night, everybody. Stay
Good
safe.
night.
See you later.
Good night, all.
Thank you.